here's a look at some of the others that have an opportunity. You've got other favorites like France, Portugal, and England, maybe some dark horses as well, like a Croatia or perhaps a Switzerland. I don't know. Lots to look forward to in this international break. But let's talk a little bit more on this Spain team. The European champs are without a loss in over a year, which is pretty crazy. And they kick off their action coming up tomorrow. Tone, what do you think, or today, what do you expect from Spain in this window?
Well, more of the same. Remember, the Spain team that won the Euro is a very young team, right? And a team that you looked at with all of their stars. Now, no, Yamal, we'll get into that in a second, that he's not in camp, and Rodri's not there. But it's a side that it's one of those golden generations. They're stacked, and they will be one of the favorites, right? And Europe's going to have a couple favorites. Portugal will be another one, I would assume. And in that list we saw, I would think Switzerland is a bit of a dark horse. That's a more experienced side now, having played a couple of World Cups, had some success. Yeah, but this Spain side, there's no denying the talent. There's no denying what they have here. It's always a matter of, the World Cup is a matter of, can you put it together in that month, in this case 5 weeks, right? Can you have 5 weeks of magic? And that's why sometimes you see a team that, well, we're going through with the U.S., that doesn't look prepared, but they put it together for a month and have a great run.
Yeah, they have a really good manager in Luis de la Fuente, who, I mean, I'm curious your thoughts on him, because I know there's a lot that he has to deal with between club and country, but he's the architect of it all. And they have the stars, but what's unique about the team that he's built, and you use the perfect word, Tones, golden generation. He has a backup player in every single position, and that includes Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. They're the headliners alongside Rodri, but this Spain doesn't need them in qualification to set the standard. Unfortunately, though, here we are talking about injuries and mismanagement. This is a team that I would put, when healthy, I put them right up there with Argentina as the favorites to win the World Cup. And there's a bit of gap still. I don't care what the Nations League and what any of that says. There's still a little bit of gap between those two and the rest of the competition.
Yeah, so the priority for Spain is to keep everybody healthy. But unfortunately, West, when you have one of the best national teams, it also probably means that your guys are playing on some of the best teams around the world, and the best teams around the world usually go far in a lot of competitions, which means the load management always comes into question. And as Lahoud said, Spain don't need a Lamine Yamal necessarily to get through qualification. I mean, just looking at the Group E standings right now, they lead the way with 6 points and a +9 goal differential, with Georgia and Turkey behind them on 3 points each. So again, we're expecting Spain to get out here, but when it comes to that load management, and particularly with a player like Lamine Yamal, I mean, where's your concern level that they're going to have all those best players healthy when it matters the most at the World Cup next summer?
I have a lot of worries about Lamine Yamal specifically, because this is an instance that we've seen play out before with Pedri. Pedri was run into the ground when he first broke through at Barcelona. There's that famous picture of him in a Spain shirt where he's so haggard. He's played like 60-something games. Barcelona, to their benefit, they lean on young players and they will give them opportunities, but to the detriment, they often lean a little bit too heavily on them. I think we're seeing that a little bit from Lamine Yamal. The good thing is that they have backup players. Spain has backup players. Barcelona don't have quite the same backup for Lamine Yamal, but if they can keep him healthy, they are the favorites for me. Easily the favorites, alongside France, alongside England. You mentioned Luis de la Fuente. The biggest thing I can say about this Spain team is that they're drama-free. We always it feels like there's often drama around the Spain team. There's some sort of something going on with the manager or the players or something. There doesn't seem to be any of that around this Spanish team. They're a unit. They play so well together. They haven't lost in over a year. Like you said, they have 2 players for every position. So even though Lamine Yamal is injured, that gives another player a chance to work himself into the team to make himself part of this unit. So I have confidence in this Spanish team for the next World Cup, for this coming World Cup. I'm just worried about Lamine Yamal as a whole. Barcelona leaned so heavily on him. Spain leaned so heavily on him. He's barely coming out of his teenage years, and he can't play that many minutes. We've seen Wayne Rooney. He played as many minutes as like a 35-year-old by the time he was 28.
Crazy.
And the longevity of these guys is the worry. Will we see Lamine Yamal at the same level at 28, at 30? Will he be able to
at
play till
24?
he's 30?
I mean, that's what he's only still a teen.
These players have to be protected, and I'm really interested to see how Spain and Barcelona do protect him specifically.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw a stat out there because, I've got to throw a little stat. So Lamine Yamal, by the time he was 18 years old, before his 18th birthday, he played 130 professional matches. 71 of them came in just this past season. 18-year-old playing 71 matches is something we've never seen before in world football. And when we talk about protecting players, that goes for club teams, and clubs have to do a better job of protecting players. Hansi Flick, I think he needs to look at himself in the mirror. And Barcelona are protecting him because he expressed discomfort after the PSG game. That's why he wasn't available for the Sevilla game. And that's why he's going to be out for maybe 3 weeks because El Clasico is the biggest thing. But now, national team managers, because of the amount of games players are playing, because of expanded competitions that weren't there before, like the Nations League, because of expanded competitions that are here now, like the Club World Cup, thank you very much, FIFA, and more football, it's doing damage to young players. And for a club like Barcelona, I worry about that club because they are hell-bent on young players. Young players, La Masia is the foundation of Barcelona right now because of their financial inequities, right? So if you lose Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez dealing with injuries, he was at the Euros and then went to the Olympics, then played a full season for La Liga. Now we're seeing him have the injuries. Nico Williams, not a Barcelona player, almost was a Barcelona player. I mean, so many young players for this Spanish national team. I think we're seeing the load that they had in the previous season where they went straight through a season, went straight through Euros, and then had a full season with very little rest. Now we're seeing kind of the damage that's being done, and now it's going to have to become the communication from both club managers and national team managers to, are you willing to protect your investment? Because no Lamine Yamal, no Nico Williams, if you now lose Pedri, there's no party for Spain.
You kind of touched on something that I struggle with in my head all the time is whose responsibility is it, right? Because every time we go to the international window, we blame the international teams, the national teams for guys who get hurt.
Look at
right?
France the last time out.
But who do you play more games with? And I'm looking at Yamal, and there were moments when I watched games where they're up by 3 goals, and Yamal is still in the game, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the time that you want to manage. Pep Guardiola has been the biggest sort of proponent of playing less games for these guys. Excuse me. But if you watch his games, there's times when he makes 2 substitutions in the game. And then his player will go get hurt on international duty, and he's blaming the national team coach. Well, the national team coach has a job to do, too. And that's have the best national team. In this case, you're talking about a favorite. Their mission is to win the World Cup. So in my head, I always struggle with who is the guy most responsible for this, right? Who needs to manage the most minutes? You nailed it, right? I still think Hansi Flick needs to do a better job while he's got him for 90% of the time, where the national team only has you for 10% of the time. And I know it's a tricky formula, but I think we have to understand the national team managers are there for a reason as well, and that's to win. Well,
I like that point a lot, and there are going to be a number of ways that everyone collectively tries to, find a solution to all these matches that players are being asked to play. And one of those proposed changes that will be coming West is a change in the format to international breaks. So instead of having it split up, having one 3-week block. So how do you think that is going to help guys, at least even just from like a travel perspective, right? You're not having to travel in and then travel out just a few days later. You can actually get settled in a little bit.
I like the continuity of this new format rather than going for 2 weeks, coming back, flying, changing all around, going back for 2 weeks, flying back. Fly out, stay there for 3 weeks, have a nice block with the national team. I think that's better for the national teams, too, to have more time with their players, have more. It's a little mini camp, basically. And then once you're done, you're done. You don't have to do all the travel going back and forth and back and forth. And you have one block where you can sit and train and play, and then you're done. I like that format better. I hope that it ends up in fewer injuries and better football overall. But to start, I think it's a better option.
You like that solution, Tom?
I do, and I like from a fan standpoint.
Yeah.
I like
Yes,
it because
that too.
I feel like we start the league at end of August, first week of September, depending, and then all of a sudden I'm waiting all summer for the league, and I'm like, here we go, we get our favorite leagues going. In my case, Serie A, and then you pull the plug on me 3 weeks later, and I got to wait now for my league. So, but the continuity for national team managers, they will like that. The travel you talked about, they will like sort of being in an area where you can spend a little bit more time. It's not constantly on planes, but I look at it from a fan standpoint. I like this only because it allows the leagues to get going a little bit longer, and then we take a break, where this is just too much chopping and changing.
And a media standpoint too, Mike? More games here on Morning Footy, 3 weeks?
Look, man, that's more African football, baby. That's all I care about.